My wife left me after she got in shape and now wants to get back together. I 32M was married to my wife 33F for 4 years and we had a great marriage so far. I was madly in love with my wife. She fell into depression mainly due to her job in 2022. I tried to support her in every way and suggested her going to gym or doing any kind of sports to distress. I had my own depression episode before we got married and what saved me was going to gym. She agreed to that and we started going there together. I could not go as frequent as in the past since my workload got heavier after my promotion. However, I tried my best to be there with her. She used to be a bit chubby, which I loved, and after seeing some changes with her body, she started to go there regularly. It also helped her with depression and she got better. I was really happy to see her get better and livelier. She looked more confident, got more aggressive in bed and so on. However, after a while that confidence level started to affect our relationship for worse. She started going to the parties and going outside to a point she completely stopped doing her share in the house. That proceeded with me seeing her getting flirty with a guy at a meetup we went. I communicated my feelings to her and she dismissed these. After several of these, I had her sit down with me and told her that she is riding high on her newly found confidence and emotions right now. I clearly stated she should not make decisions or actions according to that confidence right now. I know it well. It was one of my worst traits. I used to be extremely emotionally driven in the past. I suggested we go to a marriage counselor and hell broke loose. She said vile things to me like how she realized she settled down with me after getting better and she could do much better than me. She said I am insecure and other things. This woman used to be sweetest person on the earth and I was shocked after hearing the things she said to me. She filed for divorce the following month and I did not hear much from her other than some lawyer talks. Our court seeing is scheduled to be next month and my lawyer told me there is a high chance it'll be concluded then. There is not much to share. Similar income, only shared asset is our joint account, similar savings and no kids. House is my mom's so it's out of division. I accepted my marriage is going to end like that. Last week she called crying and told me she regrets everything. She apologized over and over again, but I felt disappointed. Not angry, not sad, but just disappointed. She did not text me nor call me even once since the divorce started. I did not even know where she was since she just left the home. I told her there is no going back now. She has been messaging me non-stop. My family supports my decision and tell me I should not back down. My in-laws were shocked when they heard about the divorce. They are now telling me to rethink everything. I will 99.9% not back down, but as I said, just looking for validation and maybe wanted to vent. Thank you for reading. Update. We are officially divorced. There was not much to share, so it went smooth as a butter according to my lawyer. I've never talked to her other than through lawyers as much as she wanted me to. She tried to talk to me one-on-one and get closure, but I just do not want that. It's not that I do not care why she left me, what she did during that time. I just do not want to know. I've been living without her for months now. At first, it was difficult and I cried all night some days, but after a few months, I feel like I came to accept everything. What peace will it give to learn what and why when I already accept everything other than hurting me? For once, I want to prioritize my peace of mind in this whole process. My parents and friends are here to support me, and I am glad that I have such a great support circle. As for what my plans are, renovate my office room in the house, get back to the gym and live my best life. I've been wanting to renovate my office room for a while now, and that's what I'll start with. I started hitting the gym at the same time. I believe my body is good, but I have some extra fat. Dieting proved itself difficult because I am a tiramisu addict for the dating part. I uploaded few apps and tried out how I am doing. I got decent number of matches but realized I do not feel like doing it right now. I'll focus on my own hobbies, well-being and wants for now. Thank you for all the support and help in the last post. Next story. I F25 went no contact with my family M54, F50, and M20 when I was 18. Now they are reaching out. What should I do? For whatever reason, my parents didn't want me. Once they had my brother, who we'll call Adam, I was pretty much ignored. They didn't abuse me, but I was pretty neglected. Everything was about Adam and how smart he was, or how athletic he was, or how he was just the best thing since sliced bread. Then there's me, a pretty average kid who got decent grades, didn't play sports, wasn't super popular, and liked to read books. I can't tell you how many times I heard, "Why can't you be more like Adam?" What made me cut off my family was when they didn't attend my high school graduation. Adam had gotten hurt that morning, a sprained ankle. I was eventually told, and our parents rushed him to the earth because he swore up and down he broke his leg. I only got one text from my mom telling me that they would make it up to me with a dinner to some family restaurant I mildly enjoyed. I was done after that. I had been used to be neglected or forgotten about, but I thought they would at least attend my graduation. I moved out that summer to go live with my cousin F30 and her wife in Arizona. Then I blocked them, and they haven't been in my life since. My family did try to get into contact with me after I left, but it was mostly just telling me I was a bad daughter and overly sensitive and didn't care about Adam. Years later, I still don't have any contact with them. I'm now married to my husband John M26, who loves me and treats me like I matter. We also have a daughter 2F that I love more than the world itself. I have a close-knit group of friends and a job that makes decent money that I enjoy. I'm not saying my life is perfect or a dream or anything, but it's definitely leagues better than my childhood. Which brings me to last week, when my cousin called to tell me they had a message from my parents and my brother. This isn't anything new, but the message itself was. Instead of the usual blame game, my cousin told me that they wanted to apologize for everything. With Father's Day coming up, they were hoping I could come down to visit with my family and we could have a discussion. I know most people would scream, "Don't, it's a trap, they want something from you," but I'm not so sure. For one thing, none of them have ever reached out to apologize for anything towards me. But I still have connections to my extended family, so I have info about my parents and Adam from them. None of them are sick or dying and need an organ, they're not in debt and need help with finances. My parents aren't hoping to retire and want to be supported. Adam doesn't need help with student loans, scholarship kid, so it could be genuine. But at the same time, I don't know if I care enough to have a discussion. My life has been great without them, so why do I need them now? I wanted them as a kid, but not anymore. However, John says this could be a genuine olive branch since they never apologize. He might be right. Even if I don't agree to have contact, I might finally get some closure or at least some answers as to why they didn't want me or why Adam was so much better than me. Should I hear them out or just tell my cousin to tell them to go step on Legos? I'll take any advice at this point. Update. Hey guys. A lot of you gave solid advice on my first post, and I really appreciate it. I did ask my friends for their own advice too, but they had more bust their kneecaps school of thought. Funny, but not so helpful at the time. Anyway, even though a lot of you warned me, I was just too curious to not talk to my family. Still, I told my cousin to tell them that I was not meeting them for Father's Day. I had always intended to reject the idea. I wanted to celebrate John and my Phil for being awesome, and that I wanted to do a Zoom meeting instead. I was expecting them to pitch a fit, but they agreed. Yesterday, we met on Zoom. I made sure to have the meeting at my cousin's house because my house is my space and I don't like intruders, whether in person or virtual. John was hiding in the room out of sight, and my daughter was with my cousin's wife. Long story short, my mother is a revolving door and both my parents are idiots. To make it a longer story, my mother had an affair with my Uncle Rickham 60, my dad's older brother, and got after she found out she was pregnant. My dad forgave her and agreed to raise me as his as long as they never did a paternity test. Apparently, it was easier to act as my father if he didn't have confirmation that I was his brother's child. Spoiler alert, I am not Rick's kid. Unfortunately for me, I have always been my dad's bio daughter. Rick apparently can't have kids, and my dad only found out on Mother's Day when Rick's wife made a joke about it. So my parents just resented me all this time because they were convinced I was Rick's child, despite not having proof. It didn't help that I was just so mediocre compared to Adam, like how Rick is compared to my dad. What I mean by that is that my dad has a fancy desk job in a titled position, and Rick is just your average truck driver. So clearly that must have meant I couldn't be my father's child. /S. They begged for forgiveness. My mom tried to blame my dad for not taking the test. My dad tried to blame it on my mom for being a truck stop for Rick. But they both wanted me to forgive them because they were sick with regret of how they treated me over a misunderstanding. They swore up and down that, even if they weren't always there for me, they still loved me and were still my parents, and we can be a real family now that the misunderstanding was finally cleared up. Even Adam was pushing hard for it. People asked about our relationship in my last post, but there's not really much to say. He was like a roommate. I was never bullied by him, and he didn't really interact with me, though he definitely reveled in our parents' favoritism. Still, they were all very sorry, but I had to understand why my parents acted like they did. Now, everyone wants to make it up to me and be part of my life again and be the best grandparents and uncle they can be to my daughter. I obviously told them no. Anyone with eyes could see they just wanted forgiveness to make themselves feel better. I told them that my life was better without them, and I didn't need them anymore. They got mad at that and called me heartless and cruel and a bad daughter for being so unforgiving and for not being more understanding towards them. Because it was just a mistake that I had a crappy childhood and had to play second fiddle to Adam. I just told them to forget I existed and ended the call. Then I burst into tears, and my husband had to comfort me. Their insults didn't hurt me. Even after all this time of no contact, I'm used to that. But all that time feeling like crap and suicidal and wondering what I did to deserve my mistreatment was just a waste. All because my parents were massive douche canoes with chicken nuggets for brains. I'm glad I didn't waste money to go see them. I'm also glad I heard them out for my own closure. They're trying to aggressively reach out and contact me, even getting other relatives to do so. I've already got a bunch of emails and texts this morning ranging from pleads to just hear them and insults about being cruel and heartless. I've been ignoring them because I've washed my hands of my family and will continue to remain in no contact. So yeah, thank you for all your advice. It meant a lot. Next story. I'm concerned about my 30M wife's 28F new friend 29F and am doubting her intentions. Would appreciate your perspective. I 30M have been married to my wife Sam 28F for 3 years. About a year ago, we moved to a new city because I was offered a promotion. Sam was hesitant at first, but soon came around to the idea. Since arriving in the city, we have both been busy with work and have struggled to make new friends. Around 4 months in, Sam told me she had met a new friend, Jane 29F, and they had a lot in common. I was happy for her, and we planned a double date with Jane and her husband a few weeks later. At the first dinner, we started to make the usual small talk, but when I tried to engage with Jane, she seemed cold and dismissive. For the rest of the night, I was left to speak to the husband while my wife and Jane were deep in conversation. Every time I tried to join their chat, Jane started talking to my wife again. The husband never tried to get involved. I brushed this off as Jane maybe being a bit shy around new people and forgot about it. Over the next month, Sam and Jane would text constantly, have long phone calls at night, and meet up a couple of times a week for coffee lunch. This didn't bother me, and I just thought that they were forming a close friendship. We then went out again for dinner, and the same thing happened, although Jane spoke to the whole group more this time, but she made a number of comments alluding to her being bisexual and her and husband being in some sort of open relationship. When we moved on to a bar, Jane sat across from my wife and started openly flirting with her. She would make suggestive comments, compliment her, and use any excuse to make physical contact with her, touching her hands, shoulders, etc. When we got home, I made a joke asking Sam if she enjoyed her date with Jane. She looked confused and asked what I meant. I said that Jane had made me a bit uncomfortable with her flirting, but she said that's just how she is. I told her that I wasn't sure Jane just wanted to be friends and asked her to be careful. For reference, Sam has never shown any real interest in women, and as far as I know, she is straight. She is also endearingly naive and will always see the best in people. The texting and calls continued, and Sam started going over to Jane's apartment at least once a week and wouldn't come home until quite late. I was wary, but she would always tell me what they had done or watched, etc. After one of these visits, I asked what Jane's husband was up to, and was slightly shocked to hear that he was away on a business trip. Apparently, he traveled a lot and Jane didn't like being home alone. This came to a boiling point a few weeks ago when I took Jane's husband to play golf. We were supposed to go out for drinks dinner after with the other two guys, but they both had to cancel last minute. On the 10-minute drive back to my house, I could see Jane's husband texting Jane. Jane and Sam were supposed to be going out for shopping and lunch, but when we arrived at my place, they both looked flustered, sitting at opposite ends of the couch. We made awkward small talk for a while, but I went into the bedroom. I noticed Jane's smartwatch sitting by the bed. They left quickly, and I decided it was time to talk to Sam. I casually asked her what she bought at the mall and where they went for lunch. She said they decided to stay home instead because Jane had a headache. I asked her to be honest about what they had done, and she swore that they had just chatted all afternoon and they were just friends. I told her I was uncomfortable with a lot of things that have happened, but she tried to reassure me. I noticed later that the smartwatch was gone, but I didn't bring this up to Sam. Since then, there have been no phone calls or messages while I was around, and Sam seemed extra loving and attentive. She rarely brought up Jane, but last night she mentioned that she was going to a concert with Jane on Saturday, then would crash at her place. I said I wasn't comfortable with this and offered to pick her up instead. She got angry and said that I was acting controlling and crazy, then went to bed. We haven't spoken since, but am I overreacting here? Should I try to stop her from staying over on Saturday? I think I trust Sam, but something is telling me that her relationship with Jane is not just as friends. Should I snoop? Update. Many of you were asking for an update, so here you go. Original post is in my profile. After reading your messages and comments, my head was a mess. I decided I needed some firm proof that Sam was cheating before I confronted her. When I got home from work, Sam had made dinner as normal and sat with me while I ate. I acted normally with her, and she caught me off guard by apologizing for her behavior the night before. She asked if I was still willing to pick her up, or she would even try to find someone selling a ticket if I wanted to come along. I asked her to try to find a ticket, and she seemed happy. The rest of the night was normal, and after we went to bed, I couldn't sleep. Around 1 a.m., Sam was sound asleep, so I grabbed her phone and went to the bathroom. I unlocked it, we know each other's passcodes, and braced myself. I knew they texted each other on WhatsApp, so I started by trying to find any other messaging apps. I checked everywhere and used the trick someone recommended of looking at the battery usage to see the most used apps. I didn't find anything. Sam is not into social media and doesn't use Instagram, Snapchat, etc. I also checked her browser history, emails, photos, call logs, deleted items, etc., and couldn't find anything out of the ordinary. I decided to check WhatsApp next and open the chat with Jane. I found hundreds of messages, sometimes up to 50 per day between them. Around 99% of them were completely normal, talking about TV shows, books, music, recipes, family, day-to-day life, etc. The other 1% that might be a bit suspect included: Jane would often bring up spicy parts of books and TV shows and want to talk about it. This happened regularly, and Sam would engage, but not in too much detail. One conversation about sex that Jane initiated, which came from a scene in a book. She was complaining that her husband is submissive and got quite explicit. Sam shared a bit too much about our sex life, but nothing outrageous, and she was very complimentary about me. Jane replied she was jealous in a joking way with some emojis. Jane casually mentioned that she had a friend over a few times when Sam asked what she was up to. Sam's replies were always along the lines of, "have fun." Jane would complain about her husband a lot and ask about our relationship. Again, Sam was complimentary and didn't say anything particularly negative about me. Jane sent Sam a link to a sex toy asking for her opinion. Sam replied, "Oh yeah, we have one of those, it's great." There were no nudes or anything pointing towards them having had sex. Nothing had been deleted. I checked some of the chats with her other friends and they were very similar. What was most concerning was the way which Jane texted Sam. She would always initiate the conversation and follow up 3-4 times until Sam responded. She would then start calling if she didn't respond. There were also a few messages where Jane's tone changed when Sam wouldn't reply. She would become less friendly and cold. Also, when Jane asked Sam to do something together, there was always a subtle guilt trip added, like she didn't want to go alone because of social anxiety, she was scared being home by herself, etc. The message calls slowed down in the last few weeks because they were both complaining about being busy and Jane had been out of town. Even though I didn't find the smoking gun I was looking for, it's clear that Jane and her weird husband are bad news for our marriage. We will be having a come to Jesus conversation tonight where I will get the truth because Sam is a terrible liar. If nothing more has happened, I will make it clear that divorce is still on the table if these creeps are not permanently and immediately removed from our lives. Final update. Final update. I'm concerned about my 30M wife's 28F new friend 29F and am doubting her intentions. First of all, my original post was not intended to cover all of the things that led to me being suspicious of Sam's relationship with Jane. There were a number of other factors, for example, Sam prioritizing communicating and spending time with Jane over me, Sam not talking about Jane like she did with her other friends, etc. We did talk about most of this at the time because, believe it or not, we do have good and regular communication. Now on to the update. Sam came home on Friday and we sat down to talk after dinner. This was not a big showdown, but just a normal conversation that lasted many hours. Here is a summary. Sam originally loved spending time with Jane, but it became too intense and weird for her a few months ago. She feels Jane is too needy and controlling, but didn't want to lose her only close friend in this city. Sam knows that Jane has a crush on her, but made it clear that she was happily married and straight. She should have told me about this, but knew that I wouldn't be okay with it. Nothing physical happened between them. Jane tried to initiate physical contact in a playful way and made suggestive comments about Sam, her body, etc. Sam shut this down. Sam told me that she wanted to cut down contact with Jane and focus more on our relationship and spending time with a new friend she has made. As for my concerns, here is Sam's explanation. Jane's attitude towards me. Apparently, she doesn't like most men and treats her husband terribly. The flustered, awkward situation when I came home from golf. Jane was showing Sam some spicy scenes from a new TV show. They didn't realize we were coming back early and switched the TV off as we came through the door. The watch, Jane was going to borrow a dress for a wedding and went into our bedroom to try some on. Sam assumes she took it off, and when she saw it, she put it in her bag to give it back to her later. Sam's reaction when I asked her not to crash at Jane's apartment. Apparently Jane had planned a girls' night after, and Sam thought she would get angry if she canceled. I also told Sam that I snooped on her phone. She was initially angry but understood why I did it and forgave me. We both apologized to each other and went to bed. I managed to get a ticket for the concert and went with Sam and Jane last night. Jane made some thinly veiled comments jokes about me being their chaperone etc., but I laughed it off. We met another couple there, and I ended up hanging out with the other husband while the ladies danced etc. Long story short, we are good. I trust my wife, and we had a long conversation about boundaries etc. Thanks to all of you that provided constructively helpful comments, but given the number of insults and offensive messages I've received, I won't be coming to Reddit for advice again anytime soon. Next story. For refusing to let my sister move in and take my master bedroom because she had to break her lease. My F22 sister F24 works fly in fly out in the Australian mines, big money for 5+. She's had many shared leases with people over the years. She's struggling to find a roommate at the moment. About a month ago, we had a casual conversation about the idea of her staying at the place I'm renting with my partner M24. Important detail, me and my partner have separate rooms as we need our own space, and it works for our sleeping schedules. A couple ideas were thrown around. I offered the spare room, which is very small and can only fit a bed. She proposed taking my master bedroom and offered to pay more, which means me and my partner would have to share or one of us move into the tiny room. I said I would talk to my partner about this and get back to her. As of a couple days ago, she told me the landlord is not allowing a second person. For context, I left abruptly from a toxic workplace and now on mental health leave. She straight up texted me, "I don't want to stress you out more, but when can I move in El Mau?" Told her I would sleep on it. Then the next day she texted, 2 weeks to move in. I had a talk to with my partner, and we agreed it's better if she takes the spare bedroom as she's 2 weeks on at her mining job and 1 week off. I called her and said she can have the spare bedroom. Then she had the audacity to say she's moving into my master bedroom and she will pay more. I said absolutely not, because the room will be empty for 2 weeks at a time. And on top of that, she's unclean and untidy. My worry is she will leave my room disgusting. She did not take this well and said that I agreed to her taking my room, which didn't happen. Today she blew up my phone with texts saying I'm petty for not letting her have my room, and that she deserves luxuries. Also, she doesn't want to come home to a tiny room after living in one at work. I'm a young person who is finally living in my own place after being in crappy living situations. Why does she feel entitled to take my room and disrupt my life for her convenience? I know she's my sister and I understand her situation and feel for her, but this can't be the solution. Am I the butthole? Here's the update. Just for your information, this is my partner's account as I don't have my own. My sister and I have had a rocky relationship since forever due to childhood trauma. I've cut her off many times due to this kind of disrespect and breaking of boundaries. I'm not perfect myself, but I want this relationship to work. Our phone conversation ended in a screaming match where I stated she will only get the spare room, but she insisted it was unfair because she would pay more money. She later texted me a photo of a workmate holding up the middle finger with a text saying, "Name said you are being petty El Mau." I texted back in the fashion many of you suggested. OP, tell him he's a C*NT. OP, you're a guest at my home, you're not taking the master bedroom. That'll be empty for 2 weeks. Sister, you cannot keep using the excuse, it will be empty for 2 weeks. How the F do you think I've had roommates before, and how anyone that does FIFO have roommate before, like I'm gonna go live in a small room for my break as well as going back to work and living a small room again, like awesome no luxuries suite? OP, you are not a roommate. I'm doing you a favor by letting you have a roof over your head for a short while. You don't get luxuries when it's your only option. Also, my luxuries get taken away in my home because you say so. You're very out of touch with the average full-time young adult living in a stranger's room because that's their only option. Absolutely not fair. I finally have something to myself after 3 years of crap. Sister, girl, you aren't the very last and only option El Mau, you're just the easiest. OP, okay then my offer is off the table. Would I be the butthole if I cut off this bad woman off again? I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel James Stories.